This is our first to-doodle about fractions. I'm going to repeat what I just said more lengthily. If you scroll up in our Moodle site, then there's all sorts of videos about fractions. And a lot of these are just one video per link. Unlike talking about how to multiply and divide, where there were lots of good playlists, it's hard to find a good playlist about fractions because everyone wants to start doing math with the fractions. If you look at this example, plus, minus, times, divided by, we're not ready to do things with the fractions yet. We just want to understand what a fraction is. So I've had to pick out certain videos from playlists to be helpful to you if you want more information between classes. But we're going to start right at the beginning. The fractions that most people know best are what we call the kitchen fractions, because we have them in our kitchen. We have measuring cups, 1, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4. Some recipes also have a 1/6. Some sets of measuring cups will have a 1/6. So we often include that. It's sort of like the vowels. Y is sometimes a vowel. So the kitchen fractions are the simplest ones to use. We use them all the time in baking and carpentry and things like that. The next group of fractions are what's called the unit fractions. They are any fraction whose top number is 1. So if I want to write 1/8, that's not a kitchen fraction because we don't have that usually as a measuring cup, but it's a unit fraction. It has a 1 on the top. The ancient Egyptians used only unit fractions. We'll talk about this a little more later, but civilization got by for about 1,000 years, only having fractions whose top number is 1. So we're not in any rush to look at the other fractions. There are fractions like, say, 2/3. The top number is not 1 anymore, but we don't need to rush and deal with those. We can think just about the kitchen fractions and some other unit fractions to start with. Ready? Our first thinking challenge is how many ways can we shade half of this 4x4 grid? So I can make copies of it if you want. Somebody tell me how to shade half of it. If you want, this one isn't actually writing a number. Handwriting doesn't matter. You are welcome to take the mouse and try doing your own shading. You are in the Jamboard.
Does it matter which way we go? I don't.
No, it doesn't matter at all.
Okay.
Do you need me to put the link back in chat for the people that are here? It is again in chat. Okay, so the top half is certainly one way to do half. I can be not very creative and say, here's like one side of it. What's another way we could shade half of this? Josie did the top 2 rows. Does it matter if it's the top two rows?
Bottom two?
You could do the bottom two. Do you need your two rows to touch? I could do this row and that row, and that's also covering half of it.
What about the two middle?
The two middle, sure.
Kitty cat's not helping much.
No, that's okay. Cats have lots of good things about them, but shading boxes is not their main skill.
And getting in the way.
If it was like, how could you knock half of the things off the table? And then the cat could be afraid.
He didn't like that.
Sorry, I'm bruising cat egos during math class. Oh. I should try and invent a Jamboard where it's like cat memes the entire time. I wonder what topic would work for that. Anyway. Okay, yes, that works too. Kind of a big checkerboard pattern. You can think of more ways if you want. How about if we're shading just a quarter of our grid? I'm going to make it a little smaller so it'll fit here. If we wanted just a quarter of it, then I can do similar to what was done just now. Let's just put this top quarter and not the other 3/4. Do you think there's more ways to do quarters or halves? That's an interesting question. What about a 16th of the grid? What would a 16th look like?
Would it just be one?
It would just be one of the 16 boxes. Everyone happy with that?
Yep.
So the point of this is you all could do this just fine. You know what fractions are. I didn't have to tell you what a quarter was or a 16th was. So we just use these kitchen fractions so much in real life. This picture you might recognize if you were here when we did the to-doodle about sorting word problems. We create fractions with division. So I have 6 things, 6 boxes, and 2 of them I like, and the other 6 I'm not as fond of. And if I do 2 divided by 6, that makes a fraction. I could simplify it to a third, but I don't need to. I could just write it as 2 out of 6. What is this? I don't know. I can think of lots of stories to go with this. There are 6 students in the room. 2 of them are left-handed. 4 of them are right-handed. So 2 out of 6 are left-handed. There are 6 people at the dinner table. 2 of them want chocolate ice cream for dessert. 4 of them want vanilla ice cream. So 2 out of 6 pick chocolate. You can think of lots of little stories where there are 6 things total, and 2 of them are special, the ones we're caring about, the ones we're counting right now. It doesn't mean we've gotten rid of the other 4. They're still there. They're just not the ones that we're counting on the top of the fraction. So let's see this in action. Somebody who's pretty good with tossing things and has a trash can nearby. then pick something up. It doesn't have to actually be wadded pieces of paper. And try throwing your thing into the trash can, put it far enough away you don't hit every time. And let's record how many of our objects made it into the trash can. Do I have somebody that can help me with that? No throwing your cat, April. You can throw dirty laundry if your camera's off. No one knows what it is you're throwing.
What if the person that throws it misses every time?
That's okay. What would that be? So let's say all 6 of our things missed the goal. What would we write as our fraction?
Or it'd be like 6,
The bottom is 6 because that's how many there are total.
and then 0?
Yeah, 0/6. And this fraction bar, as I'm covering up over here, whoops, covering up over here, move away things. We can say over, but it's often better to say out of, because that's how we talk in English. This is 0/6 made it into the trash can. Make sense?
Yes.
Sometimes we say per, but that's a little different. We'll get to that soon. So if I was a slightly better shot, only one of them was inside, then I could say 1/6 and so on. The top is always the special ones. Something about them is special, even if it's just that they're in a category I care about. And then the total is the bottom. Okay, here is a slightly trickier one. Alana and Andy are twins. They have a birthday party together. And we have 2 cakes. And these are the same size cakes. Oops. One cake we slice into 8 pieces. And the other cake we slice into 4 pieces. Some people wanted chocolate cake, and these people all wanted ice cream. So the mom gave these kids smaller pieces because they were also getting ice cream. After the party was over, there were 3 pieces of chocolate cake left. How would we rate that as a fraction?
3/8.
3/8. After the party, the other cake was only in quarters because the people who wanted strawberry for some reason didn't want ice cream, which makes no sense to me, but I did not invent this problem. And after the party, 2 of these pieces were left. So which cake had the most left over? How do we write the second red fraction, by the way?
2/4.
2/1. Which one is bigger? Which cake has the most left over?
Is it 2/4 because the sizes are bigger, or
Yeah, imagine I didn't serve that piece, but instead, or I did serve that piece, and the one that's still in the pan is here. So with this picture, then kind of this green piece, that's how much smaller 3/8 is. Because if I had that, then I would have 2 of the fourths, just like the other picture. Does that make sense?
yes?
So this little bit, and how much is that? That's 1/8. So 3/8 is smaller by 1/8 compared to 2/4. Or 3/8 plus 1/8 is also 2/4 or something like that. But yes, you are correct. The 2/4 has more left over. That was pretty advanced. We're moving away from the unit fractions to fractions that have different numbers on top. But I'm trusting you can handle it, at least for a moment. Okay, as a final example, this is something that you've probably done at the grocery store. We can use division to make something that looks like a fraction. We write it on the paper as some number with a fraction bar and some other number underneath. But it's not a fraction. A fraction always has parts out of a whole. How many pieces of cake are left? How many shots out of 6 made it into the trash can, right? There's always the special ones we care about and how many there are total. But we will write things as fractions that aren't. For example, 60 miles per hour. You might not have seen this a lot yet because it takes a little bit of somewhat advanced math, ratios and proportions to make this useful. But maybe you've seen this before. And certainly at the grocery store, we do this kind of math a lot. We want to shop for the best deal on ice cream. And do we want the one that costs $4 for half a gallon or $3 for 12 ounces or so on? And we're trying to compare which is the better buy. So when we compare two numbers and we write them like a fraction, we call that a rate. And rates are another Math C topic. We're not going to talk about it now, but just have it in the back of your brain that everything we learn about fractions will get useful later on for things that officially aren't fractions, because miles are not parts of an hour. But we're using the tools we're developing for fractions to deal with these because we like the tools we get. By the way, if we had that kind of thing, if it was $8 for a 12-ounce box, how much would each piece be? How would I solve that? As I hint, it's on the page at the top.
We put like 8/12, right?
Yeah, we would put 8/12. And fraction bars are like division. So I could go to my calculator and say 8 divided by 12. This type of calculator, this website actually wants to write division as fractions. It's hard to get it not to. And 66 rounded up 67 cents. Is my answer. We'll get back to rates again next term. That's a Math C topic. But you deserve to see that this is how life works. Officially, a fraction is parts out of the whole, but we also use fraction writing, fraction notation for things that aren't fractions, and that's okay.